Hello and welcome to NEET Prep Go. So today we'll be doing the second part of environmental issues. Let's just revise real fast. What is pollution? Pollution is any undesirable change in your physical, chemical or biological characteristics of air, land, water and or soil. And agents that bring about such an undesirable change are called as pollutants. Your Environment Protection Act was passed in 1986. Government of India has passed the Environment Protection Act in 1986 to protect and improve the quality of our environment. Uh, Air pollution, it injures all living organisms. What does it do to the plants? That is, it reduces the growth and yield of crops. Then it causes premature death in plants. It also deleteriously affects the respiratory system of animals and humans. That is, the harmful effects of the pollutants depends on the concentration of the pollutant, then the duration of exposure to the pollutant, and the organism which is getting exposed. So these are three important points. Then smokestacks of thermal power plants, smelter and other industries, they release particulate matter which and poisonous gases or gaseous air pollutants, which along with your harmless gases, that is nitrogen, oxygen, etc. Therefore, it needs to be filtered out. Particulate matter, most widely used method to remove particulate matter is electrostatic precipitator, and it removes 99% of particulate matter present in the exhaust from a thermal power plant. It has electrode wires that are maintained at several thousand volts, and it produces a corona which releases electrons, and they attach to the dust particles and give it an overall negative charge, which is then surrounded by the collection plates. Then scrubber can remove gases like the velocity should be low so that the dust particles can fall on the collection plates. Now scrubber, it can remove gases like sulfur dioxide. Exhaust is passed through a spray of water and lime. Now, the Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB) has said that particulate size of 2.5 micrometers or lesser, it is responsible to cause the greatest harm to human health. That is, they can be inhaled deep into the lungs and they can cause breathing and respiratory problems, irritation, inflammations, and damage to the lungs, and also premature death. Then for atmospheric pollution, a huge that is causes automobiles. As the number of vehicles increase, pollution also increases. Proper maintenance of automobiles, that is, we need to use lead-free petrol or diesel to reduce the pollutants that they emit. Also, we can fit catalytic converters into our automobiles. Why? Because catalytic converters have expensive metals, namely platinum, palladium, and rhodium as the catalyst, and they reduce the emission of poisonous gas. So platinum, palladium together, and rhodium, as they pass through the catalytic converter, unburned hydrocarbons get converted to carbon dioxide and water, and your carbon monoxide and nitric oxide, they get converted into carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas. So therefore, catalytic converter should be used, but it needs to be used in lead-free petrol or diesel, because lead inactivates the catalyst. Then your air control and prevention and control of pollution act was passed in 1981, but it was amended in again 1987 to include noise as a pollutant. Why? Because noise is an undesirable high level of sound, and extremely high sound above 150 decibel, which is generated by a takeoff of a jet plane or a rocket. It can damage our eardrums and permanently impair our hearing ability. Chronic exposure to even lower noise level can permanently damage our hearing ability, and therefore it can and also noise can cause sleeplessness, increased heartbeat, and altered breathing pattern. Therefore, it can considerably stress human beings. Stringent laws such as the horn-free zones around hospital and school, permissible sound levels of crackers and loudspeaker, timing after which your loudspeakers cannot be played, they have to be enforced to protect ourselves from noise pollution. Then vehicular pollution. Delhi in 2000. that is in 1990s, it was ranked among the most 41 most polluted cities in the world, and the pollution was very high, and it had more automobiles at that time as compared to more than total of West Bengal plus automobiles in West Bengal plus Gujarat. So such a serious problem that PIL, public interest litigation was filed at the Supreme Court within like a specific time period. It asked the government to uh, do appropriate measures. So therefore, the entire public fleet of that is fleet of public transport, it switched from diesel to CNG. By the end of 2002, all your public transport buses, that is all buses in Delhi, were working on CNG rather than petrol or diesel. Why? Because CNG burns more efficiently than petrol or diesel, and in the automobiles and very little of it is left unburned. Then CNG is obviously cheaper than petrol and or diesel. It cannot be siphoned off by thieves and adulterated, and it cannot be adulterated unlike adulterated petrol or diesel. Main problem of CNG is the difficulty of transportation, that is laying down pipes to deliver CNG through distribution points and pumps, ensuring its continued supply or uninterrupted supply. Simultaneously, parallel steps taken in Delhi for reducing vehicular pollution include phasing out of old vehicles, use of unleaded petrol, use of low sulfur petrol. So, along with switching over to CNG, there was phasing out of old vehicles, use of unleaded petrol, use of catalytic converters, low sulfur petrol and diesel. Then application of stringent pollution level norms for vehicles. Government of India, through a new auto fuel policy, laid a roadmap to cut vehicular pollution. More stringent norms reducing. Okay, so Euro 3 norms said that, for example, stipulate that sulfur has to be controlled at 350 parts per million in diesel and 150 parts per million in petrol. Aromatic hydrocarbons are to be contained at 42% of the concerned fuel. The goal, according to the roadmap, is to reduce sulfur to 50 parts per million in both petrol and diesel and bring down the level to 35%. Vehicle engines will also need to be upgraded. Then mass emission standards, Bharat Stage 2, which is equivalent to Euro 2 norms, are no more applicable in any of the cities of India. That is the latest mass emission standards. Bharat Stage 4 for four-wheeler, three-wheeler and two-wheeler have been implemented since April 2017, and Bharat Stage 4 three-wheeler has been implemented since 1st April 2017. Due to the efforts, there was substantial fall in carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide level in Delhi between 1997 and 2005. Water pollution, pollute the water and by releasing waste and all. So Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was passed in 1974. 1974 to safeguard our water resources. So, one of mere 0.1% impurities make domestic sewage unfit for human use, and these 0.1% have suspended solids, example sand, silt, and clay. Then colloidal material, fecal matter, bacteria, cloth and paper fibers, and dissolved material, nutrients, nitrate, ammonia, phosphate, sodium, and calcium. Fecal matter, bacteria, cloth, paper fibers, nutrients. So see over here, as we dump your water sewage, then over here the biochemical oxygen demand of the sewage is very high. That means it is very much polluted, and hence your fishes and all, they all die. That is disappearance of clean water organism. Okay. Then as this oxygen gets consumed further and further and further on, then the biochemical demand of oxygen, it becomes lower and lower and lower, and as it becomes lower, your pollution decreases. and your dissolved oxygen level again becomes high or normal in the water, and therefore there is reappearance of clean water organisms. So dissolved salts such as nitrate, phosphate and other nutrients and toxic metal ions and organic compounds, they are difficult to remove. So these are difficult to remove basically. Nitrate, phosphate, other nutrients and toxic metal ions and organic compounds, they are difficult to remove. Then domestic sewage primarily contains biodegradable organic matter which readily decomposes thanks to bacteria and other microorganisms. Which can multiply using these organic substances as substrates and hence utilize some of the components of sewage. So domestic sewage primarily, what does it contain? It contains biodegradable organic matter which readily decomposes and can multiply using these organic substances as substrate and hence utilize some of the components of sewage. So amount of biodegradable organic matter in sewage, biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, we know bio consume a lot of oxygen, sharp decline dissolved oxygen from the point of sewage discharge. This causes a mortality of fish and other aquatic creatures. Presence of large amount of nutrients in water causes excessive growth of planktonic or free-floating algae, and these are called as algal bloom. They impart a distinct color to the water bodies. Algal bloom causes deterioration. Okay, so there are microorganisms, obviously we learned in microbes in human welfare. These are involved in your consumption of or degradation of organic matter in the receiving water body, and therefore they consume a lot of oxygen, and as a result there's a sharp decline in dissolved oxygen downstream from the point of sewage discharge, and this causes mortality of fish and other aquatic creatures. So the amount of nutrient in water also causes growth of planktonic algae, which is also free floating algae. Planktonic means free floating. Okay, this is important. Planktonic means free floating. Called algal bloom, which imparts a distinct color to the water bodies. Algal blooms cause deterioration of the water quality and fish mortality. Some bloom-forming algae are extremely toxic to human beings and animals. You may have seen the beautiful mauve-colored flowers found on very appealingly shaped floating plants in water bodies. They are all Echinoria crassipes, terror of Bengal. They basically multiply faster at a faster rate than we can remove them, and basically they have caused havoc because they use up all the dissolved oxygen, which leads to the death of fishes. And yeah, algal blooms are, some bloom forming algae are extremely toxic to human beings and animals. They deteriorate the water quality and fish. Okay. Lead to imbalance in ecosystem dynamics of the water body. Okay. Now, sewage from our homes as a hospital contains likely many pathogenic, so therefore without proper treatment, dysentery, typhoid, jaundice, cholera, so many things can happen. Unlike domestic sewage, water from industries like petroleum, paper manufacturing, metal extraction, chemical manufacturing, etc., it contains toxic substances and notably heavy metals. What are heavy metals? Heavy metals are identified as metals or elements with greater than 5 gram per centimeter cube density, such as mercury, cadmium, copper, lead, etc. A few toxic substances often present at the industrial wastewater can undergo biological magnification. present in industrial wastewaters can undergo biological magnification, also called as biomagnification, in the aquatic food chain. So it refers to the increase in concentration of that toxicant at several successive trophic levels. So this happens because toxic substance accumulated by an organism, it cannot be metabolized or excreted, and it is passed to the next higher trophic level, which that is the organism which consumes that particular organism. So this phenomenon is well known for mercury and DDT. This is a biomagnification of DDT. So in water, DDT is 0.03 parts per million concentration. Then the zooplankton eat it. As the zooplankton that is consumed water, then biomagnification occurs and it becomes 0.04 parts per million. Then small fish eat the zooplankton and it becomes 0.5 parts per million. Then large fish eats the small fish and it becomes 2 parts per million. And then fish eating birds, biomagnification occurs and highest level of DDT is there, 25 parts per million. 0.003 parts per billion, parts per billion in water. It can ultimately reach 25 parts per million in fish eating birds through biomagnification. High concentration of DDT, what happens to fish eating birds, that is disturb calcium metabolism in bird, and this causes thinning of eggshell and premature breaking of eggshell, eventually causing a decline in bird population. Eutrophication, natural aging of disturbance in calcium metabolism, and thinning of eggshell, premature breaking, decline in bird population. Eutrophication is the natural aging of a lake by nutrient enrichment of its water. In a young lake, the water is cold and clear, supporting little life. With time, streams draining into the lake introduce nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, which encourage the growth of aquatic organisms. As the lake's fertility increases, plant and animal life burgeons and organic remains start getting deposited at the bottom of the lake. Over centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years, silt and organic debris pile up. The lake grows shallower and warmer, with warm water organisms supplanting those that thrive in a cold environment. Marsh plants take root in the shallows and begin to fill the original lake basin. Eventually, the lake gives way to large masses of floating plants or bog, finally converting into land. So depending on climate, size of the lake and other factors, the natural aging can take thousands of years, but due to pollutants from man's activities like effluents from industries, homes, and all of these have radically accelerated the aging process, and this phenomenon has been called as cultural or accelerated eutrophication. During the past century, they have been eutrophied by agriculture and industrial waste. Prime contaminants are nitrates and phosphates. They act as plant nutrients. They overstimulate growth of algae, causing unsightly scum and unpleasant odors. Robbing off of dissolved oxygen, and which is vital to other aquatic life. Poison the whole population of fish, decompose. Heated thermal wastewater flowing out of electricity generating units such as thermal power plant, they constitute another important category of pollutant. It reduces the number of organisms sensitive to high temperature, may enhance the growth in extremely cold areas, but only after causing damage to indigenous flora and fauna. Because of this, that is, it can cause the growth of fishes and all. That is, it is of very high temperature, so a very cold temperature. If the water is very cold and has a very low temperature, then it can stimulate the cause of growth of many plants and fishes in extremely cold areas, but only after significantly damaging or harming the indigenous flora and fauna. So, in the town of Arcata, which is situated in the northern coast of California, collaborating with biologists from Humboldt State University, an integrated wastewater treatment process was developed. That is, what happens firstly, that is in two steps the cleaning took place. First was the conventional sedimentation, filtration, and then treatment with chlorine. But after this stage, there were lots of dangerous pollutants like dissolved heavy metals still to be there. So to combat this, an innovative approach was taken. The biologists developed a series of six connected marshes over 60 hectares of marshland. Appropriate plants, algae, fungi, and bacteria were seeded into this area, and they neutralize and absorb and assimilate the pollutants. Hence, the water flows through these six marshlands over 60 hectares, and it gets purified naturally. Marshes also constitute a sanctuary with high level of biodiversity. Fishes, animals, birds now reside there. A citizen group called as FOAM, that is Friends of Arcata Marsh, they are responsible for the upkeep and safeguarding of this wonderful project. So your EcoSan toilets are working in many areas in Kerala and Sri Lanka. That is, water is not necessary to always, that is, what can you say? Water is not necessary to always get rid of, or that is human excreta. We can use dry composting toilets, practical, hygienic, efficient, cost-effective solution to human waste disposal. As a resource, human fertilizer, which reduces the need for chemical fertilizer. Okay. Solid waste refer to everything that goes out in trash. Your municipal solid waste are waste from home, school. Okay, burning reduces the volume of the waste, generally not burnt to completion, and open dumps serve as the breeding ground for rats and flies. Sanitary landfills were adopted as a substitute for open burning dumps, dumped in a depression or trend after compaction and covered with dirt every day. But they are not much of a solution. It has increased so much that many sites are, and a danger of seepage of chemicals from these landfills fills polluting into the underground water resources. Generator are categorized in three types: biodegradable, recyclable, and non-biodegradable. All garbage generated is sorted. Reuse, recycle should be separated out. Separation of materials for recycling. Biodegradable can be put into deep pits in the ground and be left for natural breakdown, that is good fertilizer. Non-biodegradable waste to be disposed of. Firstly, we need to reduce non-biodegradable waste generation. Second, instead we are increasing it. Use eco-friendly bags and all. Okay. Now, hospitals generate hazardous waste which contains disinfectants and other harmful chemicals and also pathogenic microorganisms, and they need careful treatment and disposal. The use of incinerators is crucial for the disposal of hospital waste. So, hospital waste is disposed with the help of incinerators. Incinerators. And your e-waste, electronic waste, they are buried in landfills or incinerated. Are exported to developing countries, China, India, and all, so that copper, iron, silicon, nickel, gold are recovered during the recycling process. Manual participation, exposing workers to toxic substances present in e-waste. No friendly manner. Copper, iron, silicon, nickel, and gold. Copper, iron, silicon, nickel, and gold. So what did Ahmed Khan do? Polyblend, that is innovations of polyblend. He took the blend of polyblend and bitumen, and he used to lay roads, enhance the bitumen's water repellent property, and help to increase road life in Bangalore. In collaboration with RV College of Engineering and Bangalore City Corporation. Year 2002, more than 40 kilometers of road in Bangalore has already been laid. Okay. So polyblend. What all does it has? It has okay. No issues like polyblend. So polyblend plus bitumen. So he developed polyblend. Okay. His company. Agrochemicals and their effects. Your pesticide, herbicide, fungicide. They all are also talking to non-target organism. Extremely grave. Okay. It is a cyclical zero waste procedure. Waste products from one process are cycled in as nutrients for other process. This allows maximum utilization of resources. That is, Ramesh Chandra Dagar, a farmer in Sonipat, is doing just this. That is, he does beekeeping, he does dairy management, he does water harvesting, he does composting and agriculture, and they all support each other and allow an extremely economical and sustainable venture. There is no use of chemical fertilizer because you have manure. Crop waste is used to create a compost. It can be used as natural fertilizer, generate natural gas for satisfying the energy needs of the farm. Enthusiastic about spreading information and help on the practice of integrated organic farming, he has created the Haryana Kisan Welfare Club with a current membership of 5,000 farmers. Dagar. Ramesh Chandra Dagar. Radioactive waste was hailed a non-polluting way for generating electricity. It was realized that the use of nuclear energy has two very serious inherent problems. The first is accidental leakage, which occurred in your 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl incident, and the second is safe disposal of radioactive wastes. First, it was thought that nuclear energy was a non-polluting way. Later on, it was realized that the use of nuclear energy has two very serious inherent problems: accidental leakage, which occurred in 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl incident, and second is the safe disposal of radioactive wastes. Radiation that is given off by nuclear waste is extremely damaging to organisms. Why? Because it causes mutation at a very high rate. At high doses, nuclear radiation is lethal, but at low doses, it causes various disorders, the most frequent of all being cancer. Therefore, nuclear waste is an extremely potent pollutant and has to be dealt with utmost caution. Storage of nuclear waste after sufficient pre-treatment should be done in suitably shielded containers buried within the rocks about 500 meters deep below the Earth's surface. Shielded containers buried within the rocks about 500 meters deep below Earth's surface. Okay. Greenhouse effect has been derived from a phenomenon that occurs in a greenhouse. Glasshouse growing plants, but does not allow heat to escape. Therefore, greenhouse warms up very much like inside a car that has been parked in the sun for a few hours. So greenhouse, that is in a glass house in which your plants are grown. That is, the light can get in, but heat cannot escape, so it is always warm. Naturally occurring phenomenon that is responsible for heating of Earth's surface and atmosphere. You would be surprised to know that without the greenhouse effect, the average temperature of the Earth would have been chilly -18 degrees Celsius rather than the present average of 15 degrees Celsius. In order to understand the greenhouse effect, it is necessary to know the fate of energy of sunlight that reaches the outermost atmosphere. Clouds and gases reflect about 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation and absorb some of it, but almost half of the incoming solar radiation falls on Earth's surface, heating it. Okay, wait, let's see. This is the sun. The greenhouse gases absorb long wave infrared radiation from the earth and emit it again towards. Okay. So clouds and gases reflect about 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation and absorb some of it, but almost half of the incoming solar radiation falls on Earth's surface, heating it, while a small proportion is reflected back. Earth's surface re-emits heat in the form of infrared radiation, but part of this does not escape into space as atmospheric gases, carbon dioxide, methane, etc., absorb a major part of it. The molecules of these gases radiate energy, and major part of it, which again comes to Earth's surface, heating it up once again. This cycle is repeated many times. Carbon dioxide and methane are commonly known as greenhouse gases because they are responsible for the greenhouse effect. Carbon dioxide 60% highest, methane 20%, chlorofluorocarbon 14%, and N2O, nitrogen oxide 6%. So clouds and gases reflect about 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation. So the 1/4 of solar radiation is reflected by clouds and gases. And some of it is absorbed, but half of the incoming solar radiation falls on the Earth's surface and heats it, while a small proportion is reflected back. Absorbed and reflected back, but a majority heats it. Small proportion is reflected back. Now Earth's surface re-emits the heat in the form of infrared radiation, but part of this does not escape into the space. So here it has escaped into the space, but here the greenhouse gases are there, so part of so the Earth's surface re-emits it, but it does not escape. Carbon dioxide, methane, they absorb a major fraction of it. So, sorry, atmospheric gases. As atmospheric gases absorb a major fraction of it, the molecules of these gases radiate heat energy. A major part of it again comes to the Earth's surface. So your greenhouse gases, they absorb a major part of it. Then again it comes back, radiate heat energy, and again it comes back to the Earth's surface, thus heating it up once again. This cycle is repeated many times. They are called as, your carbon dioxide and methane are called as greenhouse gases because they are responsible for the greenhouse effect. Increasing level of greenhouse gases led to considerable heating of the earth, leading to global warming. During the past century, the temperature of earth has increased by 0.6 degrees Celsius, most of it during the last 3 decades. Scientists believe that this rise in temperature is leading to deleterious changes in the environment and resulting in odd climate changes, which is called as El Nino effect. Scientists believe that this rise in temperature is leading to deleterious changes in the environment and resulting in odd climatic changes, which is called as El Nino effect, thus leading to increased melting of polar ice caps, as well as other places like Himalayan snow caps. Over many years, this will result in a rise in sea level and submerge many coastal areas. Total spectrum of changes that global warming can bring about is a subject that is still under active research. How do we control it? Cutting down the use of fossil fuel, improving your efficiency of energy usage, reducing deforestation, planting trees, slowing down the growth of human population and all. To reduce emission of greenhouse gases. Ozone depletion in stratosphere. Ozone depletion in your stratosphere. Bad ozone formed in the lower atmosphere or troposphere, which harms plants and animals. There is a good ozone also. It is found in the upper part of the atmosphere called stratosphere, wherein your airplanes and all go. It acts as a shield absorbing ultraviolet radiation. UV rays are highly injurious to living organisms since DNA and proteins of living organisms preferentially absorb UV rays. Its high energy breaks the chemical bond within these molecules, and thickness of the ozone in a column of air from the ground to the top of the atmosphere is measured in Dobson units. Thickness of ozone from the in a column of air from the ground to the top of the atmosphere is measured in Dobson units. Ozone gas is continuously formed by the action of UV rays on molecular oxygen and also degraded into molecular oxygen in the stratosphere. There should be a balance between production and degradation. So we know O3, it is continuously degraded and similarly formed also. So both these things happen. The balance has been disrupted due to enhancement of ozone degradation by CFC chlorofluorocarbon, which have a wide use in refrigerant. They are discharged in the lower part of atmosphere. They move upward and reach the stratosphere. The UV rays act on them, releasing chlorine atom. Chlorine degrades ozone, releasing molecular oxygen. With these atoms acting merely as catalysts, Cl atoms are not consumed in the reaction. Hence, whatever CFCs are added to the stratosphere, they have permanent and continuing effects on ozone levels. Although ozone depletion is occurring widely in the stratosphere, the depletion is particularly marked over the Antarctic region, and this has resulted in the formation of large area of thinned ozone layer, which is called as ozone hole. UV radiation of wavelength shorter than UVB are almost completely absorbed by Earth's atmosphere, given that the ozone layer is intact, but UVB damages DNA and mutation may occur. It causes aging of skin, damage to skin cell, and various types of skin cancer. In human eye, cornea absorbs UVB, and a high dose of UVB causes inflammation of cornea, which is called as snow blindness, cataract, etc. Such exposure may permanently damage the cornea. International treaty known as Montreal Protocol was signed at Montreal, Canada in 1987 to control the emission of ozone depleting substances. Subsequently, many more efforts have been made and protocols have laid down definite roadmaps separately for developed and developing countries. Development of fertile topsoil takes centuries, but can be removed very easily due to human activity like overcultivation, grazing, deforestation, poor irrigation practices. Waterlogging and soil salinity. Irrigation without proper drainage of water is to waterlogging. Erosion deposited. Restoring of In 1731, the king of Jodhpur in Rajasthan asked one of his ministers to arrange wood for constructing a new place. Minister and his workers went to a village inhabited by Bishnois to cut down trees. Bishnoi community is known for its peaceful coexistence with nature. The effort to cut down trees by the king was thwarted by the Bishnois. A Bishnoi woman named Amrita Devi showed exemplary courage by hugging a tree and daring the king's men to cut her first before cutting the tree. The tree mattered much more to her than her own life. Sadly, the king's men did not heed to her pleas and cut down the tree along with Amrita Devi. Her 3 daughters and hundreds of others Bishnoi followed her and thus lost their lives saving trees. Nowhere in history do we find a commitment of this magnitude when human beings sacrifice their lives for the cause of environment. The government of India has recently instituted the Amrita Devi Bishnoi Wildfare Protection Act for individuals or communities from rural area which have shown extraordinary courage and dedication in protecting wildlife. You may have heard Chipko movement of Garhwal Himalayas in 1974. Local women showed enormous bravery protecting trees by hugging them. Would have acclaimed the Chipko movement. Joint Forest Management (JFM) realizing significance of participation by local communities. The Government of India 1980 introduced the concept of joint forest management so as to work closely with local communities protecting and managing forest. Get benefit of various forest products such as fruit, gum, beer, medicine, etc. and thus forest can be conserved in a sustainable manner. Thank you.